In the day's other news, Pfizer's COVID vaccine for young children won approval from a CDC advisory panel. The group endorsed a low-dose version for kids 5 to 11 years old. That sent the issue to CDC Director Rochelle Walensky for final approval. We'll return to this later in the program. World leaders at the UN Climate Summit pledged today to cut methane emissions and to conserve forests. President Biden wound up his 2 days at the Glasgow gathering, focusing on America's role in the new initiatives. William Brangham reports.
It's one of the most potent greenhouse gases there is. It amounts to about half the warming we're experiencing today.
Hoping to solidify America's role as a leader in the fight against climate change, President Biden joined the European Union today to announce a proposed 30% reduction in methane emissions worldwide by 2030. Methane, which can come from agricultural production, doesn't last in the atmosphere as long as carbon dioxide, but it traps far more heat than CO2. Controlling its release is considered one of the quickest ways to slow the pace of climate change. The president also formally announced a plan to cut back on U.S. methane emissions by targeting the oil and gas industries, which are another major source. His proposals include 2 new rules to be enforced by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Transportation. Another new global commitment made today was on deforestation. These forests, sometimes described as the lungs of the planet, serve as enormous reservoirs for carbon. Over 100 countries, including the U.S., China, and Russia, pledged to stop cutting them down by 2030. Promises like this have been made before, but often not kept. This initiative covers about 85% of the world's forests and would provide financial support for conservation and restoration, as well as aid for indigenous peoples who rely on them. Meanwhile, amidst the pledges and promises, legendary documentary filmmaker Sir David Attenborough hoped that the current impacts of a warming world would stir even greater action.
Perhaps the fact that the people most affected by climate change are no longer some imagined future generation, but young people alive today, perhaps that will give us the impetus we need to rewrite our story.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm William Brangham.
And in Ethiopia today, the government declared a 6-month state of emergency. Rebels from Tigray province have captured key towns and are now threatening Addis Ababa, the country's capital. The U.S. is warning the rebels not to besiege the city. Facebook has announced it is shutting down its facial recognition system over growing privacy concerns. The system automatically identifies users in photos and videos. The company says that it will delete the face prints of more than 1 billion people by December. Yahoo is the latest tech company to leave China, citing growing restrictions. Government censors had already blocked many of Yahoo's services. The professional networking site LinkedIn shut down its operations in China last month. Lawyers in Kenosha, Wisconsin began making their cases today in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. He's charged with killing 2 men and wounding a third amid protests and violence after police shot a black man in 2020. Prosecution and defense depicted Rittenhouse as either acting to protect himself or looking for trouble as they made opening statements.
The evidence will show that hundreds of people were out on the street experiencing chaos and violence. And the only person who killed anyone was the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse.
It isn't a whodunit, when did it happen, or anything like that. Was Kyle Rittenhouse's actions privileged under the law of self-defense?
Rittenhouse is now 18. If convicted, he could face life in prison. The U.S. Justice Department sued today to block a giant merger in book publishing. Penguin Random House, the nation's largest publisher, wants to buy Simon & Schuster for $2.2 billion. The suit says the new company would have too much power, hurting authors and readers. And on Wall Street, all 3 major indexes set records again. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 138 points to close above 36,000 for the first time. The Nasdaq rose 53, the S&P 500 added 17. Still to come on the NewsHour, election workers from across the country discuss the threats they face for doing their jobs. Why some parents are resistant to getting their kids the COVID vaccine. The pandemic's effect on the mental health of millions of college students. Plus, much more.
This is the PBS NewsHour from WETA Studios in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.